Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand, stars burn the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. Guys watching hands, praise to the throne. Freedom ain't free, blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
And welcome back to Continue Freedom. Thank you guys so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Let's say hey to everybody down in the chat. Takeaway, first up, you were first in the chat. The first gets, you got to get a shout out to the first person in the chat. Good to see you, Megan. Good to see you also. Thank you to the mods out there. I appreciate you all very, very much. Guys, get engaged in the chat, and we're going to talk about some fun stuff today. This is going to kind of be a little more chill. I know that I normally do a pretty, I don't want to say scripted show, but it's more organized and all that. We're going to do take a listen to it was a debate between Rex Jones, which is Alex Jones' son, and Andrew Wilson. And what I know you saw the thumbnail. What got me about this is Andrew Wilson's been on a roll lately. I'm going to pull up a couple things that he's done that have caught my eye, that have made their way into my algorithm and probably yours as well. But the trolling of Candace Owens, which was awesome. We talked about the Stu Peters debate. Well, I say debate. We'll put that in air quotes. The debate that he had with Stu Peters, which was just obfuscation from Stu Peters and, filibuster Spurg. And then this debate that he's also had that he recently had with Alex Jones' 23, 24-year-old son. Nothing against 23, 24-year-olds, but your life experience is a little limited at that point. So anyway, we're gonna talk about that. But I'm gonna play something else first. This is something that I just came across, and if you don't follow this guy, his name is Ben Dykes, and Ben Dykes he's got a show on YouTube. There's my screen share button. He's got a show on YouTube. And he's a big channel. He's 270, 80,000 subscribers. I pulled this one down just in case I wound up getting ads through the middle of it. But he's got a pretty big channel. Yeah, he's 230,000 subscribers on his channel. Does some really, really good content. And anyway, I'm gonna play this video that he recently posted. I downloaded it just so I wouldn't get hit with ads. Although I've got premium, so I shouldn't have to worry about ads. But this is talking about the influence operation that's going on, and that Lane chick, what's her name? Elizabeth Lane, isn't it Elizabeth Lane, that recently did. I haven't watched the interview with Tucker Carlson, but I guess this all kind of came across everybody's radar screen, and her talking about the influence operations and so on and so forth. I'm going to play this video from Ben Dykes, and then we'll get into the Andrew Wilson stuff. But let's kick it off with this while everybody's coming online. And hit all the free buttons, by the way, on your way into the live stream. Hit all the free buttons below. It helps us in the algorithm, helps the channel grow.
Well, I'll tell you, they recruit people.
Oh, whoops.
Well, I'll tell you, they recruit people. They recruit celebrities. They recruit members of the media. They recruit veterans. They recruit all. But let's get back to this other conversation about a foreign government media operation. Now, in this interview with Tucker Carlson, the lady there says that she lays it out. All of these military channels, and she doesn't name any names, that have been contacted by Ukraine for this Ukrainian operation called United 24 Media. And they offer to pay you. They offer to provide you footage for you to use in the videos. They will, treat you really well and make sure your videos get views. Now, you fill in the dots on that. But we've been going on with Ukraine for 5 years. And under the Biden administration, it was very easy for Ukraine to get money. They had the son, they got the dad, Burisma, all that. But now things are getting a little thin. Now, I know Zelensky was just in the White House. And if you think that's a coincidence, I've got a bridge right over there in my backyard that I'll sell you. It's oceanfront property. But I know this because they contacted me. About 2 years ago, they contacted me on my channel and set up a call and started, offering things, money. Well, needless to say, I didn't take it. Okay? I didn't take that, or I wouldn't be getting eaten up by mosquitoes right now. But there's a lot of channels that have. And some of these influencers, it just takes a real quick YouTube search, and you'll find it. There's Army veterans, there's Air Force officers, there's Army officers. There are people from all different branches of service wearing all different colored uniforms that are telling you that you should support Ukraine, or you should support Russia, or you should support Israel, or you should support open borders, you should support the Democrat Party, you should support the Republican Party. You name it, someone is getting paid to say it to you. And that's a real problem. Because if you take money from a foreign government or an entity from a foreign government that is, ran by them, you violate what they call the FARA Act. Basically, you have to register as a foreign agent.
So he, by the way, and I'll stop here, but he basically goes on to talk about how, they offered crypto, and you could, of course, this guy, he does stand on his principles. I will give him that, because he stopped his sponsorship deal with Mike Lindell after Mike Lindell came out in support of amnesty and all of this. But he goes on to talk about how this back end crypto or not even crypto thing, but this buying influencers. We know that it exists, but honestly, this is the first person I have heard on the internet come out and say they offered it to me, and these are the things that you get for those perks, and he turned it down. So kudos to Ben Dykes. Again, go follow him. It's Ben Dykes over on YouTube. He does live streams all the time, and he's covering current events. He takes call-ins. He's got a whole production, on his show. But I thought it was fascinating. And maybe I'll come back to this one later on. But he's got this video up. It's got like 7,000 views so far. It was about a couple hours ago or a few hours ago. So go check him out. Free shout out to somebody. But it kind of plays into what we talk about on this channel all the time, is that there is influence regardless, one way or the other, whether it's people buying Russian influence or Ukrainian influence or Israeli influence or Qatari influence or Muslim influence in general. Like, these operations exist. We know they do. And most people, they're hush-hush about it. And why this stood out to me so much is he said, they offered it to me. He was very open about it. And most people won't do that. Most people say, man, $20,000. He said some of these people are making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a video just to prop up these foreign governments. And what's interesting, I think, is that a lot of these people are probably the same ones railing against foreign influence, but only from one country, not acknowledging that there's foreign influence from others. So I don't know. That's wild. Very wild. Good to see everybody down in the chat while everybody's coming in. Somebody, I know we're getting ready to start this Andrew Wilson stuff. Somebody made the comment. Let's see. They said they didn't like, okay, here we go. So it was Chrissy Lee said that I don't like or agree with Andrew Wilson in many ways, but I do love his takedowns of people that I don't like. And I agree. I don't agree with him theologically. I'm a Protestant. He's an Orthodox. And, in his recent debate with Dinesh D'Souza, he was basically alludes to Protestants being heretics and this, that, and the third. I don't agree with him theologically in a lot of ways. But the way he has handled this situation with the debates and Turning Point USA, people have tried to pin that on him as though he is being influenced by Turning Point USA. And he's saying, look, I'd sell my training to la-di-da-di everybody. You can buy a debate course, an Andrew Wilson debate course. And he, there's so many people out there that are of that cult mindset, the Candace Owens people. And those Candace Owens people are, any connection. If you've ever had a connection, we kind of talked about this, I think, in the last live stream. But any connection you have with someone automatically discredits you as a commentator, a person. You're a shill, you're a this, that, and the other. And in this instance right here, interesting comments. This was one that Candace Owens posted. And she said, interesting comments coming in regarding the medical examiner's report on Charlie. Things are certainly going to get interesting. Just how magical was this bullet? And so there were, Ruthie Mayforth, 5933 made a post, and it talks about being a surgeon and the trajectory and, all this. It was this, this interesting commentary from him. And then there's another one, Wild Geese. I'm retired from medicine, a cardiology. I paused Candace Owens' show to read this, blah, blah, blah. And come to find out, according to Andrew Wilson, he said, both of these medical examiner profiles are mine, LMFAO. And so allegedly he has gone in and filed or sent her fake claims. And she posted them as these bombshell revelations. And he's like, these are actually mine. Like, I sent this to you. And the responses are absolutely hilarious. So this one is whoever Admetos, Spirit of Admetos. Are you claiming to put up fallacious bait on the internet? You call this trolling? And he's like, yes. You're bragging about trolling Candace's investigation now, and he says investigation. What was it? This one was funny. Now the ladies, might get angry. Maybe this is why some of y'all don't like him. What is wrong with you? Honestly, TPUSA hurts their credibility hiring you to teach debate. You're an effing joke, but hey, I'm female. What do I know? And he says nothing. I mean, I find this hard to believe. He says, lady, we have infiltrated. Now watch the fun. It's more people are going to do this, by the way. The trolling is just going to continue from the people that are not in the candy cult. Let's see. Though I didn't grab the whole thing on that one. Let me pull which one. Where was it here? Oh, yeah. Okay, this is it. You think this is funny? You find humor in this? You are disgusting. All TPUSA donors should understand who they are dealing with or who you are dealing with. People, they lost their minds. They absolutely lost their minds. And then they're on here accusing him, saying that it's a crime to impersonate a doctor. You can pretend to be anything on the internet, right? Candace Owens pretends to be an investigator. Why can't Andrew Wilson pretend to be a doctor and send in fake claims to some crazy lady's internet show? Oh my gosh. So I was losing control. Now you all can correct me. Was he trolling by saying he was trolling, or was this legit? You all let me know. Oh, Ben Dykes. Hey, we just played your clip, or some of that segment that you had posted. Yes, they are paying people 100%. Go check out Ben Dykes' channel. Guy does some great work, like really great work. Let's see. So you guys let me know down in the chat if this was Andrew Wilson trolling by saying that he was trolling, or if it's actually legit. Either way, it was absolutely hysterical. People were losing their minds. We played the clips from his debate with Stu Peters, and Stu Peters is this is kind of the leg that they stand on is, I can make all the claims that I want. I don't ever have to have anything credible. I don't need to have any evidence. It's incumbent upon the defense to provide, or the prosecution to provide evidence, which they are. And I can just sit out here and say whatever I want to say, and I don't have to justify or provide any evidence for any of it at all. Let me hang up my phone here. Something's dialing in here. Let's see. We'll put this on Do Not Disturb. Yep. People being bought is disgusting. Right. So much of this is controlled opposition. And I think that, honestly, some of this Candace stuff, people out there say that she doesn't have a political bent on it. And that could be true. However, she's definitely having a political influence. And do I think that that some of her lemmings are also getting some of this money? Yeah, very, very likely. I personally think very likely, because this is the fracture of the Republican Party. This is the fracture of the MAGA movement. This is the fracture of the wing of the party that stands the greatest chance in the future of cutting off a lot of the money going to foreign governments. So it stands to reason that like Ben said in his video, that under Biden, these people had tons of money. They were getting all the money that they wanted, and you had congressmen and women wearing Ukraine pins going into the Capitol. The money was flowing. It was the land of milk and honey for them. And when you get somebody like Trump in, not that Trump is perfect when it comes to conflict. We've kind of transitioned. I think we've transitioned from conflict into war, which is something that is around this conversation Andrew Wilson had with Rex Jones. But nonetheless, these are things that in the long term are going to be rolled back under the Republicans, not under the Democrats. So it just stands to reason that they would want to do whatever they could to disrupt them. By the way, on this same one, here's a component of it. Let's look at this recent post from MTG. Look at this crowd. These are the folks that are hanging out at Tucker Carlson's house. You've got Thomas Massey. You've got, of course, Tucker and MTG. This is the merry band of brothers and sisters. She says, no more foreign wars, and we meant it and support Donald Trump because he made that promise, but he's betrayed us all. Our commitment is America first for all, America, right, left, and center. The movement has begun. So when everybody's talking about, what's the future of Republican politics going to be? They say, well, we're going to have another party. It's going to be, the way that this Rex Jones kid explains it is it's going to be a third party. And third parties, they never work. They never work. Charlie Kirk wanted to rebuild the Republican Party from the inside. And I think that a lot of us were mistaken to think that it was going to happen like that in one presidential term. And that's because the first one we'll call it a wash. That's what got things started under Donald Trump. But he was dealing with the deep state. He was dealing with the entrenched politicians. He's coming in here and he's doing good things. I still say that he is doing good things. But this is a massive ship, proverbial massive ship in the Republican Party that we are trying to turn around. Charlie Kirk understood that, and he said that there's infrastructure and things that the Republican Party has that a third party is not going to have. And these people that think they're going to build one from scratch and have it compete with the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are out of their ever-loving minds, in my opinion. I would be interested to know your all's thoughts on that. But here they are. The gang is back together. Joe Kent, by the way, I didn't mention him being in there. I don't know who that other my screen's too small. I need to get a screen that's closer to me. But either way. All right. Let's get into this debate and let's listen to it because it was a pretty good one. And I do tend to, let me see. I think it's all commercials up front. They did like a brief intro and then it went to commercial. I don't know. Let's see. We'll just play it from the get-go. And we'll stop along the way.
Is there any accountability for the Republican Party? Or do they just get to avoid punishment forever for breaking their promises?
One of the problems we have in this nation, man, is that politics is a team sport. And we have universal suffrage, and so that's also a team sport. And so you want your team to win, and you have to have your team in power. You can't legislate. You can't do it. You have to have a majority in order to legislate correctly because the other side will stop you at every turn. It's not a matter of holding them accountable. I understand that. I get it. The question is like, are we going to give up power to progressives? And the answer for me is unequivocally no. Would I love it if we were able to hold more of these people responsible? Sure. Absolutely. But do I want progressives to govern as an exchange for that? I'm not so sure about that proposition. That seems like a bad prop to me.
Who and how and what controls the Republican Party then?
Mostly donor money, donor class, NGOs, things like this. They're also beholden to constituency, so it's a coalition of different factors.
Who would those
that hold
people be?
control.
Who would the donors be? Who would the donor class be? Would that be people that support Greater Israel Project and are generating dead American bodies?
And Kufi, and all sorts of different people. But
so it doesn't sound like the voter, right?
Yeah, but the problem is like that's a very one-dimensional aspect to look at. It's like, yes.
You can say that. Why is that true?
Well, hang on. I'm going to tell you. Jews pump a lot of money into politics. There's no doubt about it. So does Israel. But on the other hand, so do most of the Arab nations. So do most foreign nations pump money into politics.
Are we fighting a war for them? Are we fighting a war for the Arab nations right now or for Israel?
No, that's beside the point, though.
No, who controls the
point
party,
is,
Andrew? Who controls the
so
party?
it's not purely Jews who control the party.
I didn't say
it's
that.
a collection. It's a collection of NGOs that control both parties.
So if it's being run by donor money and not by the will of the people, the will of the voters, then how are we bad for wanting to hold them to account by doing the only thing we can do by not voting for them?
Yeah, that's not how's that going to help, though? Like, what is that going to do for you exactly?
Can I answer?
What does that do for you? Yeah, what does it do for
Gridlock,
you?
stagnation in Washington, D.C., perhaps a passing of the war powers resolution into the Iran conflict, impeachment charges for Trump for war crimes, blowing up the school.
Okay, so let's just assume that you get all of that. That's going to take a progressive majority. You agree with me there, right?
I don't think
There's
so.
no way you're going to get an impeachment.
I said gridlock.
You're not going to get an impeachment of Donald Trump without a progressive majority, dude. No way.
They can do an impeachment in the House and have it fail in the Senate. That happened before.
Well, then that's not a real impeachment, right? The question comes down to this. What do you get if progressives are in office? Tell me what I'm going to get. What do I get?
Probably not the Iran war.
The average?
Probably not the Iran
Okay, great.
war.
I know. I'm not asking what I don't get. I'm asking what I do get. What do I get?
Massa on our plantations better than Massa on theirs. That's your entire argument. With the Republicans,
You're not answering the question.
With the Republicans,
You're
you
just
get
running.
war. With the Democrats, you get potentially more immigration.
Can you answer the question that I asked you, dude?
Potentially more immigration. Potentially
Not just more immigration. I'm going to get increased taxes. I'm going to get a rollback of all of the social programs.
We're being taxed right now. The war's a tax. The war's a tax on everyone, Andrew. The war's a tax on everybody. You completely discount every factor of the war that's hurting Americans right now, and you say, but the Democrat. You say, but the Democrat. That's your entire argument.
You're saying the Democrats will save us, Andrew.
That's not what I said. I want the war to end. World War III is happening right now. You support World War III. You say you don't, but you make justifications for it.
I support World War III.
Yes.
You support communists getting into office to save you from the evil Republicans because you can't rein in your own party.
Andrew, what happens when World War III truly breaks out and there's a ground invasion? You were wrong 7 weeks into the war. You're wrong right now. What happens when that happens? Are you going to eat crow?
Wrong? What do you mean? How am I wrong? I never said there would be a ground invasion.
You said it wasn't a war, man. You said it wasn't a war. It wasn't
at the time. It was a conflict at the time.
You have it both ways. So when did it become a war? When did it become a war, Andrew?
I think that when it became a war was after the ceasefires failed. That's when I think it became a true war.
All right, so Trump disagrees with you. Trump says the 4 soldiers that just died didn't die in the Iran war. He says we're not at war. Do you support that position?
I disagree with Trump. Fantastic.
All right, so how do you hold him to account? If you disagree with the president, do you care? Is he your king?
So the thing that's funny is, like, we can go to our representatives. We can ask them to defund this. We can ask for many things from the representatives who are in control. Now that you have established what my view is, Rex, how are Democrats going to save us from anything, bro? Tell me, please.
All right, mass starvation every single day. The Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb are shut. There's global famine, mass migration, human osmotic pressure. Michael Yon talks about it all the time. This war will generate 100 times the problems that you're kvetching about.
Real time, uncensored.
So
into the conflict.
That was a very long intro, by the way. That was the intro. That's a 5-minute intro, guys. Trim it down a bit. You get 30, give me a minute and a half. Good gracious. Now we're going to actually get into it. I almost skipped through it. But this, just to set the tone, and I only watched the first maybe 15, 20 minutes of this, so I'm going to go in cold to the rest. But this is kind of framing the debate. Very good job of framing the debate. Is that this is that whole Nick Fuentes saying, vote Democrat because the Republicans suck. And yeah, okay, fine. We'll open up the borders for another 4 years. We'll let a few more million people in, but at least, we'll maybe we'll have some effect on trying to stop the Israel lobby. That's about it. It's like, I'm afraid of World War III. I think that this is World War III, says Rex. It's not, but I feel like it's World War III. That's the most important thing. So just vote for Democrats, whatever we have to do. Such a childish take, but anyway, that's my
opinion. We disagree with each other's position on whether this is a war or not a war. So I want to define terms. I want to define what we're talking about here. I don't want to speak for you, Andrew. I want you to speak for yourself. Where do you stand now into the conflict 6 months? I'm
fine calling it a war. I don't think that's a problem. it definitely is not boding well for the Trump administration, that's for sure, going on 6 months with no real resolution in sight. So I don't think that it was a great idea for his administration to do.
Right. And this is the frustration that I had initially. Forget just being a young person, forget just being 23 for a second and thinking about the prospect of us being involved in another like ground war in the Middle East. It seemed like something that could never be extricated from. And like, what is, or I don't want to speak for you, what's your belief on the reality of this being like winnable per se?
There's no clear objective for what winning is. And so I'm not sure what we would even be winning. If you go into a country and you attack them, you need to kill everybody until you have unconditional surrender. And short of that, you probably shouldn't be fighting a war at all. That is in fact the case. So I never thought it was a great idea for Trump to go in. My kind of red line with him is whether or not he does a ground campaign. I think if he does that, it'll be the ultimate disaster for his administration. I still think that support for Donald Trump, as opposed to the alternative, is still a much better proposition ultimately for the nation. But I understand the anti-war sentiment. Yeah,
so I think that's kind of the key disagreement that we have there, because I think we both agree now, 6 months into the conflict, that it is a war and all that, and that it's not boding well, as you said, for the Trump administration. I agree. Here's where I stand. If we back him relentlessly into the hilt, it shows that our coalition is weak because we don't care about what we put him in power to do. What do you think about
What's the alternative?
Well, I mean, if you don't hold them to account in 2026, we're going to have a period where they're not going to be able to pack the Supreme Court. They're not going to be able to do much of anything. But if the electorate shows this is unacceptable, then in 2028, we could have a real populist platform. That's the alternative.
I actually don't understand that position. How do we get to a populist platform from us giving up power? So one rule in politics, if you have power, you don't give it up ever. And the reason you don't want to do that is because the opposition will come in, undo everything that you've done, and reverse your policies. By the time you get power back again, all you're doing is undoing. It's just like an undoing after undoing after undoing. Do you want to consolidate power to the right, for sure.
Do you think are we in power right now? Like, who is us giving up power? Because the Republicans, they don't represent what we voted for, so I don't feel very in control.
Most Republicans do represent what you voted for. There's a few defectors you probably don't like, but overarchingly, Republicans have been fairly decent when it comes to things like migration, when it comes to trans issues and social issues, domestic policy. But we're talking about the war. They've been fairly decent.
But the war.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm looking at the totality of why it is that you don't want to give up power over a conflict you don't support.
All right, but they didn't do what we voted for or what I voted for because they didn't pass the War Powers Resolution. So they're failing on that front. That's a big problem.
Yeah,
this is, by the way, this is what a one issue voter sounds like. A one issue voter with access to millions and millions of people. Rex Jones is one issue. It's just the Iran war, and all of his who's in power, he doesn't care. It's so long as this one thing doesn't happen. And that's a weird stance to take for somebody who, I mean, if that's your shtick, I guess, and that's what your channel's all about, is just about not having any conflict, any foreign conflict. Good, you'll have plenty to talk about because that's never been the case that we haven't had, at least some form of conflict at all time. In fact, I would say that's the norm. Peace, pure peace, is a luxury. That's not the norm for just mankind in general, much less the United States, who's projecting its power globally. So to say that, okay, I'm willing to crash it all down to the ground, burn it to the ground, simply because of this one thing, and it is a big thing, I'll give him that. But it's an immature way to look at American politics, in my opinion. And I don't want to sound ageist. I'm not even going to use that term. I don't care. Just because he's young, the founding fathers, they were young too. But my goodness. This is a very myopic way of looking at politics.
I'm certain that there's multiple policies that you would consider to be failures from the right or Republican Party, but that really doesn't have any bearing over whether or not, if you look at the totality of how it's going to be governed between the left or the right, it's going to be far superior under the right than the left. And so what I look at politically is I'm looking at political longevity. who's the nation going to be better in the hands of ultimately? And it's going to be the right wing, and it's going to be Republicans. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I've lived under Democrat rule. It's a nightmare. It's always a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare again. So while I agree with you in spirit that there's many things here that we have disagreements with, we need to rein our party back in and tell them no war, things like this. That has no bearing ultimately on who I want to see governing.
We will talk about that when we come back. Andrew Wilson, The Crucible, Rex Jones, Alex Jones Network. See you soon.
Hopefully that doesn't get me, I don't know if that's copyrighted music or not. I guess I'll mute that. Let's see. While this is going on, was there a commercial here? Let's just get right back to it. I can't remember. Well, I'll keep watching and I'll check comments here. He's dramatic just like his dad. Yes, you're 100% right. Here we go. Sorry. Let's unmute it. I never know anymore if I'm going to get, dadgummit, if I'm going to get copyright strikes or what. Oh, X-Player. Are you kidding me? Do as I command you. You've got to be kidding me. Hang on, guys. This stupid thing. Yep. All right. I'm going to have to. Okay, there. Now it's letting me.
Fairly decent.
But the war.
Yeah, I understand, but at the totality, tell them no war, things.
I want to read a quote from before that, actually. Let me find that really quick. From the time with Owen. And I believe that, when was the debate with Owen? When did that occur in timeline with the conflict?
I don't exactly remember. It was very early on.
All right, the crew will fact check that really quick. I'm going to read this quote. And this is in response to something we'll get into later in the next segment, which relates to our Epstein disagreement, right? So I want to say this in context. I'm not saying this is exclusively an Iranian war argument, but it does reference kind of your feelings towards the Iranian people. I'm going to read this. Not only that, I'll tell you something really interesting. I do know of a satanic type religion of pedophiles, and right this second, Trump is blowing them up. Right this second, as we speak, he blew up their leadership. The Ayatollah Khamenei instituted child marriage as young as 9 years old inside of Iran, and we're killing them overwhelmingly. You want to talk about pedophiles? Let's talk about pedophiles. Where are they at? I can tell you who are blowing up right now. Who are pedophiles? That would be Trump blowing up pedophiles. That's what he's doing currently. Is that the way you feel about all the civilian deaths in this war as well? What's your take?
No, what I was doing there was testing the logical consistency of the pedophile craze for Epstein. So the idea was from Owen's position was that the most important thing was to stop the pedophiles who are in government, who are eating children and all this shit, right? So I said, look, if that's the case, if it's really just about pedophiles, then we can point out that there's another nation that's completely filled to the brim with them, and we're blowing them up at the moment. It's just to test the logical consistency. It's not a position that is pro-war. It's just a position that's designed to test consistency.
Just to be clear, if it's purely like to test logic, you do not support bombing pedophiles in Iran?
No. Well, I don't support it. Let's just say, like, if we put it in a vacuum, if all the pedophiles in Iran died of a heart attack, I would support that. But if it's the case that I have to send United States soldiers over to blow them up, I'm not so sure that that's a great idea. No.
Okay, so that's what you meant when you said, I'm not an anti-war guy, but I'm not a pro-Iranian war guy.
Correct. I'm not anti-war.
Okay,
it just depends on what the war or the conflict is. So I'm an America firster. It's to the case that I'm anti-Iranian war, sure, but I'm an America firster. So the idea is that there could be wars that America needs to engage in for its own interests. You would agree with me on that. It's just that this probably isn't one of them.
Yeah, but your opinion has changed because initially you didn't call it a war. Now you're calling it a war. So
well, at the time, I think that it fit the criteria of a conflict more than it did a war. And it was a very short conflict that led to what looked like possibly a ceasefire, but that fell apart. And it does look like it's becoming a hot war. Yeah.
Right, a regional conflict, a regional war, and like this is the reality. Like, there's no brakes on this train. This is why it grinds my gears when people still support the president over this and say there's some reason to this. There's not. This is a COVID of choice, in my view. Would you disagree with that?
Yeah. So I'm not supporting. Do you agree with me that we don't have to support every position of Donald Trump to still understand that he's the lesser of two evils here?
I think there's a hierarchy. I think when you do like the grand ultimate sin, I think it really counts against you. I think that's what he's done with the war, the peace president.
I don't think that that's the grand ultimate sin. The grand ultimate sin is yielding right-wing power to progressive, insane lunatics. Okay, these people are lunatics. I've seen what they do when they're in power. Again, that I think is the ultimate sin. I think that, and by the way, I'm not even sure that having progressives in power would stop any foreign conflict. It hasn't before. Like, what foreign conflict do they ever stop? I've never seen them stop any of them. I always see them get expanded under progressives, in fact. Got expanded under Obama. Clinton bombed foreign nations. Every time a progressive is in power, I see them do this. So I don't even know that follows that voting in progressives is going to even stop any of the conflicts anyway. At least if we're in power and can apply some sort of pressure on Republicans and the Republican administration, I mean, that's superior to if we had progressives in power, I think.
Is there any, and this is true because the people like Rex are buying into what they say rather than what we've seen them do. That's juvenile politics right there. To say just because the party says this, that, and the third, that's exactly what they're going to do. That's never really the case, especially with the Democrats. Look at it even locally. Let's look at it at the state level. Look at what Spanberger was willing to do in Virginia. Spanberger runs as a moderate and comes in as a far left-wing radical. The Democrats who are whooping and hollering about the conflict in Iran are the same ones that gave maximum amounts of money to the war in Ukraine. And this guy says, well, they're in opposition to us now because it's politically beneficial. You want to talk about, this is why the argument that Republicans are morally superior or superior in every way is 100% correct, because their baseline is way, way further off than the Democrat Party now. And the Democrat Party keeps moving further and further and further to the left. We still cave to the left. We've done that politically, socially. Politically, this country has moved to the left. We always compromise to the left. And that's a problem. It's a problem we got to fix in the long term. We've got to start making them compromise to the right, but that takes massive social change, and that's a work in progress. But yeah.
The accountability for the Republican Party, or do they just get to avoid punishment forever for breaking their promises?
One of the problems we have in this nation, man, is that politics is a team sport. And we have universal suffrage, and so that's also a team sport. And so you want your team to win, and you have to have your team in power. You can't legislate. You can't do it. You have to have a majority in order to legislate correctly, because the other side will stop you at every turn. It's not a matter of holding them accountable. I understand that. I get it. The question is like, are we going to give up power to progressives? And the answer for me is unequivocally no. Would I love it if we were able to hold more of these people responsible? Sure, absolutely. But do I want progressives to govern as an exchange for that? I'm not so sure about that proposition. That seems like a bad prop to me.
I just think we've lost more than we've gained. Conservatively, let's just go with the initial 39-day of the war count. It's 113 billion. Look at our bases, look at things destroyed, look at munitions, let's just call it another few billion, whatever we want to say. Look at the global energy crisis ramification for people at home. People are spending more money. Ultimately, you're looking at like around a $200 billion price tag for, 150 days or 6 months of war.
It's going to be more than that before it's done.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. So how on, quote unquote, our side, quote unquote, the right, how is that not the ultimate sin? I'm going to put that back to you.
Because domestic policy is even more important than foreign policy is. Significantly more important. And the domestic policy under Democrats is going to look like this. They're going to institute corporate tax increases immediately, which Trump tried to offset with tariffs, which is going to increase the amount that you pay for your goods significantly. They tried to say that Trump was doing that when he instituted tariffs. The opposite is true. When you up corporate taxes, who ends up paying the bill? It's the consumer. Not only that, they're going to roll back Roe v. Wade and the legislation that we have fervently fought for there. They're going to pack the court. These people are lunatics. They will. And by the way, right now we have net negative, actually, migration to the United States. And I guarantee you that that's not going to stay the case under progressive rule. So look, I get it. There's a foreign policy blunder that's going on, and it really sucks, and I hope we can rein it in. But I'm telling you right now that the alternative of putting progressives in power is going to destroy the nation even further than it's been destroyed, significantly more. Right now, you have who on the left? You have Mamdani, you have communists coming out of the East, which is where they've traditionally come from, moving their way out westward. You want these people in power? No, you don't. You don't want them in power. Even if it was the case that they reined in some of these wars, which I doubt, but let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, they will still destroy you domestically.
They're handed the keys to the kingdom, though, when we have coffins come home draped in American flags. And the whole narrative about Mamdani, he's in the Oval Office shaking hands with Donald Trump, hanging out. So the whole narrative of, the great communist enemy, the evil enemy, I just see these as different factions that want to destroy the country. Do you not see the Republicans as a different faction that wants to destroy?
No, I've never believed the ideal that this was a two-headed snake with one single body. That's not the case. The case of the matter is that if you have universal suffrage, you're always going to be reduced to a single party. Even in places where they have rounds of voting like they do in the UK, it often comes down to just two parties, which are the two major parties. There's not much you can do because there's a couple of wedge issues that parties can build their platforms around that people will endlessly fight about. That is the truth of the world. The idea that Mamdani is going down and shaking hands with Trump means nothing. That's politics, man. That's how that works. That doesn't mean he doesn't hate him. That doesn't mean he's not smiling, waiting to put a knife in his back and in the back of the Republic, because they are. These people are psychopathic lunatics, and they're communists, and their entire ideology is the destruction of capitalist America. That's what they want more than anything.
Yeah, and when America supports and props up genocides that Israel and Ukraine commit, and then people like Mamdani can run on being opposed to that, we hand them a free win.
Yeah, look, I agree with you that politically this was a bad idea for Trump, that it's going to weaken his base support and already has, that it is the case that many of the right-wingers are going to be extremely upset about this, and they are. I agree with all of that. There's nothing you're saying there which is untrue.
I know, but it wasn't your initial, this wasn't your initial position.
There's nothing here that you're saying, though, that also, or that I'm saying that's untrue either. Both things are.
This is what it is there. Trump makes a bad decision and we call it out. We say, I don't like that Trump did this. And we tell him, we say it on social media, but we still keep the coalition together. People like this, like the gang of malcontents that I showed you before with Tucker and Massey and MTG and all those people, they're the ones that say, I found a thing. And because I think that the president is going to come in and do 100% of the things, 100% right, 100% of the time, then you make one mistake and the whole thing needs to be broken down. Now I need to be the new power. I need to be the new influence. It's me now. It's me. And you shave off these factions. So while they're complaining about the war breaking up the coalition, they are the ones breaking up the coalition because of the war, and it's going to hurt us in the long run. That's it. That's what Rex is saying. We're divided on this. And yeah, of course, I'm the one who's one of the people who's dividing us, but I'm divided. And MTG and Tucker, they pull their audiences in whatever way. Yeah. And Andrew Wilson is, I don't need to tell you guys this, but he's saying, look, this is a long-term thing. I know that Andrew Wilson understands that this is a long-term battle, a long-term fight. And it's not just about one election and everything gets fixed. It's about multiple elections. The Democrats understand this better than anybody. Well, they also understand that in the ebbs and flows of politics, because they've had control over the media and they've been able to help influence that in the ebbs and flows of politics, when they're at the peak, they all vote together and they do and will do exactly what he just said, which is pack the courts, open up the borders, increase taxes. They're going to whatever they have to do so that when there is another trough, you weaken the enemy. And then the next one, you rise a little bit higher with a little more power. And then there's a trough. And because the Republicans don't like leveraging government power like the Democrats do, you know, we look flaccid when we're in office. And the Democrats, it's a hammer and sickle for a reason. Yeah.
True. It is true that his support is being eroded because of this conflict. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But it's equally true that if we have progressives in power, or domestic policies are going to turn.
How dare you, Bronson? How dare you be late to this live stream that was unscheduled? Let's keep going.
absolute shinola, and they are going to destroy us. Both things are true at the same time. So what's the pathway forward is what we're discussing, right?
Well, how do you hold
and the idea is like, what do we do?
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. Who and how and what controls the Republican Party then?
Mostly donor money, donor class, NGOs, things like this. They're also beholden to constituency, so it's a coalition of different factors.
Who would those
that hold
people be?
control.
Who would the donors be? Who would the donor class be? Would that be people that support Greater Israel Project and are generating dead American bodies?
And Kufi, and all sorts of different people. But
so it doesn't sound like the voter, right?
Yeah, but the problem is like that's a very one-dimensional aspect to look at. It's like, yes.
You can say
Jews
that. Why is that true?
Well, hang on. I'm going to tell you. Jews pump a lot of money into politics. There's no doubt about it. So does Israel. But on the other hand, so do most of the Arab nations. So do most foreign nations pump money into politics.
Are we fighting a war for them?
Left.
Are we fighting a war for the Arab nations right now or for Israel?
No, that's beside the point, though.
No, who controls the party, Andrew? Who controls the party?
So it's not purely Jews who control the party.
I didn't say
it's
that.
A collection, it's a collection of NGOs that control both parties. They both have vested interests. It depends on which party and which platform you're looking at. If you're looking at the Democrat and Republican, the dialectic there, they're mostly held by huge donors, by NGOs, and their constituency and what their constituency wants. One thing both constituencies agree on is they want to move away from the Iraq conflict. But NGOs and donors on both sides may not want to do that. So yes, both parties are seized by NGOs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And also they have some sort of beholdenness to their own constituency. So it's a coalition of factors and not a single factor.
So if it's being run by donor money and not by the will of the people, the will of the voters, then how are we bad for wanting to hold them to account by doing the only thing we can do by not voting for them?
Yeah, that's not how's that going to help though? Like, what is that going to do for you exactly?
Can I answer?
What does that do for you? Yeah, what does it do for you?
Gridlock, stagnation in Washington, D.C., perhaps a passing of the War Powers Resolution into the Iran conflict, impeachment charges for Trump for war crimes, blowing up the school.
Okay, so let's just assume that you get all of that. That's going to take a progressive majority. You agree with me there, right?
I don't think so.
There's no way you're going to get an impeachment.
I said gridlock.
You're not going to get an impeachment of Donald Trump without a progressive majority, dude. No way.
They can do an impeachment in the House and have it fail in the Senate. That happened before.
Well, then that's not a real impeachment, right? The question comes down to this. What do you get if progressives are in office? Tell me what I'm going to get. What do I get?
Probably not the Iran war.
The average?
Probably not the Iran war.
Okay, great. I know. I'm not asking what I don't get. I'm asking what I do get. What do I get?
Well, I told you I consider that to be the supreme thing. You're going to make arguments. Are they going to pack the Supreme Court? No, they're not going to pack the Supreme Court.
So okay, the conflict in Iran goes away, which it wasn't there for most of Trump's presidency, first and second.
But you can't say that. It's not going to go away, Andrew. That's an assertion of yours.
If the progressives are in charge, I'm saying, in this hypothetical, the progressives are in charge. The Iran war is gone now. Okay, they stop it for whatever they do. They put an end to it. Now what?
We have a 2028 where we have a healing of the country. We have a true battle for the soul of the nation.
Those are pretty words. I don't know what the hell that means. First off, but you realize what he was saying. He was talking about impeaching Trump. So this is the lunacy of these people's position is let's make him a lame duck because we turned on him. So they've turned on President Trump. You can have disagreements with Trump, but you've turned on not just President Trump, but you've turned on the coalition that was people like Charlie Kirk were trying to build. Big tent, lots of different ideas. We break all of that apart. And in order for us to look right and for us to be able to say, I told you so, we need to be disruptors for the Republican Party, which is infinitely better than having the Democrat Party in control, but they are willing to sacrifice that just for the I told you so moment. And then there's going to be some miraculous healing that comes out of turning over the legislature to the Democrat Party, the same one that was, look, people have made excuses for the Democrat Party, and it absolutely infuriated me that I've used Nick Fuentes as an example. 1 minute, Nick Fuentes is saying, we got to vote Democrat. We got to vote for the Democrats just to burn the Republicans. We got to teach them a lesson. Vote for the Democrats. I'm voting for the Democrats. And as Bronson, I think it was, pointed out to me that he took a lot of heat for that. But the next day, or within it was 24, 48 hours, whatever it was, he's saying, look at all the things that the Democrats did. They weaponized the DOJ. They went after the president. They went after the J6ers. They did all these horrible, horrible things. And because these are single issue voters, people like Rex are single issue voters, they're saying, well, that's worth it. That's worth it. We just turn it all over to la-di-da, we'll turn it over to the nut jobs. Let the mental patients run the asylum for a while, and there's going to be some great healing out of that. It makes zero sense. I've yet to see somebody make a logical argument for this, and Rex is epically failing, and Andrew he's nailing it.
I don't believe in that. You believe in cucking and cowing to the Republican Party. Like, this is all I'm hearing right now.
Rex, what do I get if they're in office, dude? Answer me. What do I get if progressives are in office, bro? What do I get?
Massa on our plantation's better than Massa on theirs. That's your entire argument. With the Republicans,
You're not answering the question.
With the Republicans, you get war. With the Democrats, you get potentially more immigration.
Can you answer the question that I asked you, dude?
Potentially more immigration.
And this is veiled language.
Not just more immigration.
Sorry, I hate to keep stopping this, but potentially more immigration. No, young man. Definitely more immigration. 100% guaranteed, definitely more immigration. Not potential. Potentially this will happen. Potentially that'll happen. No, it is for certain because they are telling you that's what they're going to do.
I'm going to get increased taxes. I'm going to get a rollback of all of the social programs.
We're being taxed right now. The war's a tax. The war's a tax on everyone, Andrew. The war's a tax on everybody. You completely discount every factor of the war that's hurting Americans right now, and you say, but the Democrat. You say, but the Democrat. That's your entire argument.
You're saying the Democrats will save us, Andrew.
That's not what I said. I want the war to end. World War III is happening right now. You support World War III. You say you don't, but you make justifications for it.
I support World War III.
Yes.
You support communists getting into office to save you from the evil Republicans because you can't rein in your own party.
Andrew, what happens when World War III truly breaks out and there's a ground invasion? You were wrong 7 weeks into the war. You're wrong right now. What happens when that happens? Are you going to eat crow?
Wrong? What do you mean? How am I wrong? I never said there would be a ground invasion.
You said it wasn't a war, man. You said it wasn't a war. It wasn't
at the time. It was a conflict at the time.
You have it both ways. So when did it become a war? When did it become a war, Andrew?
I think that when it became a war was after the ceasefires failed.
Great point. But this is one actually, and if you guys hang on till after this one, I'm actually going to cover some of this, what's going on in Spain. Because comparable to what was happening at our southern border, but it is an absolute nightmare. And when it happens in other places, there's foreshadowing that does go on in this world with these wild lefty politicians. And I'll show you the footage after this one. But yes, 100% right.
That's when I think it became a true war.
All right, so Trump disagrees with you. Trump says the 4 soldiers that just died didn't die in the Iran war. He says we're not at war. Do you support that position?
I disagree with Trump. Fantastic.
All right, so how do you hold him to account? If you disagree with the president, do you care? Is he your king?
So the thing that's funny is we can go to our representatives. We can ask them to defund this. We can ask for many things from the representatives who are in control. Now that you have established what my view is, Rex, how are Democrats going to save us from anything, bro? Tell me, please.
All right, mass starvation every single day. The Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb are shut. There's global famine, mass migration, human osmotic pressure. Michael Yon talks about it all the time. This war will generate 100 times the problems that you're kvetching about. That's a reality.
Well, first of all, hang on. You're still not answering what I'm asking you. How are Democrats, who you can't even guarantee
I told you, I'm not getting World War III. I'm not getting World War III, Andrew.
Guarantee me that they'll stop World War III, bro. So just tell me, what do I get if they're in charge of the domestic policy of the United States besides completely fucked? What do I get?
You get no war. I'm going to keep saying it. You get no war.
Yeah, except can you promise me when Democrats are in office, I get no war?
Well, you promised me it was a 7-week conflict and not a war, and then you changed your mind.
Answer the question.
No, you get to have it both ways. You get to have your cake and eat it too, but then I have to respond to your hypothetical.
Whatever,
if the Democrat win, they destroy the country because you say so. I don't agree with your assertion.
Yeah, they're going to.
I don't think they're going to destroy the country.
So then why not tell people to vote for Democrats? Tell them to vote for Democrats. Let's do it live right now on the Alex Jones program. Say,
no, we're not going to be doing that.
I'm
I'm not voting for my own destruction. Democrat, Republican, they are two wings on the same bird. You disagree with that? That is my position.
The most important thing is World War III, Rex. Tell people to vote for Democrats because they're going to save us. Do it.
Do not vote for Zionist Republicans that want to end your life and your family lineage forever by sending you off to war.
Why not tell them
Don't put words in my mouth, Andrew. Don't put words in my mouth.
Why not? Why don't you tell them to vote for Democrats, Rex? Why not?
Because I disagree with that position.
Why not tell them?
I disagree with that position.
Then who are you voting for? There's two parties. We're in a two-party system. And this is why, guys, this is why when the MTGs and the Tuckers and people come out with their, whatever it is they're going to call it, party, there's going to be a faction. If it's a meaningful faction, I don't know. But there will be a faction of people who will listen to kids like this and say, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Because you can't, if you're on a basic moral level, I can't vote for Democrats because I'm pro-life, right? There's no way right now with their current policies, no way under the sun that if I walk out here and I call myself a Christian that I'm going to go and vote for the Democrat Party. It's an untenable situation. Cannot do it. Cannot happen. So they're just saying, I can't vote for Zionist Republicans. Okay, who are you going to vote for? I guess not vote. That's your other option. So he needs to tell people to do one or the other, or at least they don't have to tell them what to do. Say, this is what I'm doing. Are you voting for Democrats or are you just not voting? Because you're doing one or the other. You're not voting Republican.
How do you disagree with the position? The most important thing is World War III, and the Democrats are going to save us from it. Why?
By the way, Mackenzie, it is this is Alex Jones's son. This is Rex Jones.
Wouldn't you vote them into office, Rex? Tell me.
I'm not showing up to the polls. I don't have to exist in your binary.
Oh, okay, right. So I guess the most important thing isn't stopping World War III then, because you can't even be bothered to show up to vote.
That
Great
doesn't
consistent
follow.
position,
That
Rex.
doesn't make sense.
Consistent position.
Andrew, you said it wasn't a war. Now you say it's a war. That's your consistency.
Yeah.
So
we
you
have
can
to stop
you can
World
change
War
your
III.
position. You can have your cake and eat it too, but I can't. That's basically your entire
Rex,
take on this from day one.
Rex, this whole thing is insane. First of all, when I said that at the time, we were 6 or 7 or 8 weeks into the conflict. Okay? Yes, of course, when the situation changes, my opinion about the situation is going to change.
Your support generated the war. People like you that backed the Republicans. When Trump said 99% of Republicans supported the war, you're a part of that number. You emboldened his military action.
Did you vote for Trump?
Yes, twice.
Then you supported the war. How
yes,
could you support
I was
the war?
wrong to believe in the lies of Donald Trump. Donald Trump lied to me. Hold on, Andrew. Donald Trump said no more neocon wars in the Middle East. Is this a neocon war in the Middle East?
That's the same thing he said to me. I voted for him too.
And you're still a cuck.
What do you want me to do?
You're still cucking for him. That's what
You're
this
cucking
is.
for Democrats, bro.
You're making excuses for the dear leader. If you can't criticize your own side, it shows your coalition is weak. You have no...
Criticize is one thing, which we all do. We all do it. We say, I don't like it. I don't like it. But we're in it. Does that mean that I'm going to turn it over to the people who are in direct opposition to not like all my politics, all my worldview, like at the cellular level, we are different than Democrats. Really, we are. Hypothetically, I mean, not technically at the cellular level, but you guys know what I mean. Like, yeah, I don't like it. Let's apply it. You could apply public pressure, but to say no, don't vote or go vote Democrat. This is sorry. I'm
coalition. You have no platform. You admit the Republican Party is controlled by the donor class, but then you say to go vote for them.
So are Democrats.
Yes.
So are Democrats.
I'm proposing we break. I'm post-duopoly.
Oh, okay, great. What you're going to break in what? You're going to form a party in 2 years?
I'm 23.
Insane,
you're in your 50s or something. You'll be dead in like 30 years. I'll be here. I care about the nation, the future of this country in a way that you do not.
That's not going to save us from World War III that you have a party in 20 years, Rex.
No, we do it now.
Talking about,
we do it now. 2028.
This is insane.
You are holding. No, hold on.
Rex.
You are holding to. You are holding to 2026. I'm holding to 2028. That is my entire position. We have somebody
you're not going to have a party. You're not going to have party by 2028. That's insane.
Who is the part? What was the Republican Party?
That's crazy.
In 2014, was the Republican Party the party of Trump or the party of Jeb Bush and Paul Ryan? What happened there?
It wasn't the party of Trump. Trump wasn't around.
So what happened there? So there's a complete change from, of course, Jeb Bush to Donald Trump, a complete change from pro to anti-war foreign policy because Donald Trump had a populist takeover of the Republican Party. How could we not have that again? You deny that. You say it's impossible.
Yeah, no. What I'm telling you is that you can't have a third party that's viable by 2028.
I didn't say third party. I said having a person run inside the Republican Party.
So then you want us to vote for Democrats now, and then in 2028 vote for whoever the Republican nominee is?
Why not?
Because Rex,
because the Democrat going to censor me and throw me in jail.
Oh, thank you, Juju B. Juju B gifted one Continue Freedom membership, and Nikki received a membership from Juju B. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Welcome aboard, Nikki. Fantastic.
No, that doesn't
giving
follow.
Up power. Oh, the Democrats are going to save us from World War III.
Yes.
That doesn't follow.
We need accountability, Andrew.
Then tell people right now if they're going to save us from World War III to go vote for
How
them.
many pumps? How many dead soldiers? How many? Uncle Sam's railing you right now. Is it going to be 19, 20, 21 pumps, 22? How many more deaths, Andrew, will you justify?
How many times do I have to say I don't support the war?
But you support Donald Trump, who's doing the war. That's the whole point of the argument.
I don't support Donald
Yes, you
Trump.
do. You support Donald Trump. You're telling people to vote for his party.
Rex, you can't cut me off in the middle of the sentence.
You've been cutting me off the whole time, man. That's bullshit.
The thing is funny here, man, is like I don't support Donald Trump's war in Iran. I do support him on domestic policy and the things that he's gotten done.
It's not a deal breaker for you.
Think for a second, not yet, unless there's a ground invasion. And I got to tell you, man, you're saying that there's going to be World War III and Democrats are going to save us. That's nuts. They're not going to save us from anything. And if you really believe that they were, why wouldn't you tell people to go vote for them then? Why?
2026, we're not voting. 2028, we're voting for somebody to take over the party just like Trump did. Respond to my position. That's my position.
I'm trying.
2026.
That's a stupid position.
Respond to it. Don't just say it's stupid. What happens? 2028, we take over the party.
Here.
In Andrew's defense, it is a stupid position.
Okay, so here's what happens in 2026. You get obfuscation. If you get Democrats in, you get a lame duck. You're right that you got gridlock, but what Democrats will come out and say is they'll be like, look, the Republicans have completely failed you while they obstructed every bit of their agenda. That's what they'll run on. They'll put a communist in the White House like they've done before. They will completely and totally take over the electorate, and then we're really screwed, bro. And what's really funny about this is, again, now that I've responded to you, can you please respond to me? Why won't you tell people if you really believe that Democrats are going to save us from World War III, and that's the wedge issue, not to vote for them in 2026? That's an insane contradiction.
I don't agree
Rex.
with that. I agree with holding the Republican Party accountable by not emboldening and enabling them in 2026. Andrew,
That's
are they going to?
Are they going to? You
said
that they were going to save us from World War III. Now they're not, huh?
What are we supposed to do, Andrew? Are we supposed to keep voting Republican as they send our sons and daughters off to die?
What you do, we already did what we could do. We tried to primary out the ones that we didn't like, and it was Trump's nominees who got in there. That's what actually happened when it was left up to the electorate. The problem that you have, man, is that you're going to yield a ton of power.
You've already
to the
yielded
biggest
it.
lunatics who have ever existed.
You gave it away to the
Earth.
Likud party. You gave it to Netanyahu with your support.
Oh yeah, I gave it away because I voted for the same guy
it's
you
two
voted
devils,
for.
Man. It's two demons.
Yeah, so I guess you and I are both in the Israeli shills then because we both voted for Trump, huh?
Better get that 7,000. We'll see you after this break.
Yeah, you better get your 8.
Good grief. When they come in with that $7,000 nonsense, it burns me alive. It really does. It's so low IQ. It's wildly low IQ. Yeah, last time I muted this, it wouldn't let me. I can only keep up with the chats. If I click off of it, it won't let me bring the volume back up whenever there are advertisements for whatever. Stop. Let's see. I hope it doesn't come to that. We gotta do. Can't keep allowed to get away with what they have. Let's see. There's a great question. Let's see. I'm going to click off of this. Let's see here. This is the thing. They're talking about the money from the Israel lobby. Is there money from the Israel lobby? 100%. And there's also money from the Qataris, and there's money from the Chinese, and there's money from all these other foreign entities. Yet they can only hone in on one because that's their peccadillo. That's their personal bias. Fine, you can disagree with it, but it is a component of U.S. politics.
Well, even though it's the host of The Crucible. We're talking about Iran war, and I think we're going to get into Epstein this segment. I want to talk to you about the Epstein apologetics, but I don't want to leave it hanging there reviewing what we just said. I'll give you the floor.
Well, I mean, it's fine for us to get into a different topic. I understand that debates get heated. I never take it personally. I never have. We have different positions and we have different ideologies, but I'll just leave it at no, I've never been an Iran war supporter. I do think that the right wing are the by far better governing candidates and better governing force than Democrats. I don't think Democrats are going to save us, nor do I even think that they would stop any wars that were going on. I don't believe it for a second.
All right. I just don't believe the right wing is in charge. Like you say, this is the issue that I have. We can point to the Democrats. You can point at the radical Marxist, socialist, communist agenda. You can say that is actually in charge. My issue is the Democrats think that they're right. The Republicans know that they're wrong, and they lie to their electorate. How do we hold them accountable?
Well, both parties ultimately lie often to their electorate. The thing is that the one thing you can't get around is that politics is a team sport. In order to legislate, you have to have X amount of votes. And that's not just to get into office. That's for when you are in office. Democrats understand and know this. They will vote along party lines without defectors. Even the communists will get together with the progressives in order to do this because they understand maintaining power is central. Right? You have what is called suicidal principles. It's like, look, you can if you want to. If you want to say, look, I'm so principled that I just refuse to even go and vote at all. That's great. But I don't know what the hell that does for anybody. And I don't know what putting Democrats in office, if you really thought that that was going to void World War III, why you wouldn't tell people to go vote for them en masse. Like, why wouldn't you do that?
Because you propose it as an absolute, and I'm not proposing it as that. I'm saying 2026 specifically, I'm not showing up to the polls because the peace president lied and took me to war. 2028, I plan to be very involved.
But you're just punishing yourself. You're setting your feet on fire to warm up your hands. You're like,
How?
look, because what you do is you get rid of your legislative authority and you give it to progressive lunatics, and they will obstruct all legislation that you do want. That's all that they will do for 2 straight years. Blame that on Republicans to usher in their candidates, and they will get them in. They will be in charge, and we are going to be in a world of hurt. That is how this works politically. Why do you think they're beating this as a wedge issue so hard? They love it. It's their favorite thing on planet Earth.
Well, they were given it,
They
Andrew.
beat it to death.
They were given it by the party.
I agree that this was a Trump blunder. I get it. And I understand that that's now a talking point which can be used by Democrats and progressives.
Blunder implies accident. This was very deliberate. Another nation took us to war, Andrew.
Well, no, blunder doesn't imply accident. It implies that you did something that you weren't supposed to. It was stupid what he did. Yes, I agree. It was on purpose. I agree that he worked in tandem with Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, in order to do this. The only defense that I'll even give to Trump is that I do believe that he thought that this would be over very quickly because the other conflicts that he had been involved with were, like Venezuela, for instance. He had no reason to think that it would become this expanded conflict. But that's the only defense that I'll give to the guy, because many people in his administration told him that this was a bad idea.
Right. So,
no, he does not. McKenzie. No, well, maybe he does. Maybe he does. See, I differ with Andrew on this. Do I think that obviously Netanyahu was part of the conversation, but do I think that Trump, there's 2 stances on how Trump was involved in this. That one is what the Alex or the Rex Joneses of the world and everybody else that believe that Donald Trump is led around by the nose by Benjamin Netanyahu and other people who think that Trump acts of his own volition and does what he thinks is in the best interest of the American people and our interests overseas and our interests globally, whatever. And that's where I stand. I do not think that he's being led around by the nose, but these people think that he is a slave to it because AIPAC is in here and giving money to politicians, or Miriam Adelson donated money to his politicians. Rex Jones is saying that's the line in the sand. Therefore, I'm willing to turn over power to the people who are funded by Reid Hoffman and George Soros and all these people that we've been whooping and hollering about for years. So he's got a skewed view on politics, thinking that, well, this one guy didn't do everything 100% right. He's ignoring all the domestic policy that Donald Trump has done. He's ignoring net negative migration, which I can guarantee you, I could go back and find videos of Rex Jones and definitely his dad talking about us being overrun at the border and it's an invasion. And well, Trump stopped all that. Well, that's not enough. I found a thing for us to now step in and try to take power back. And it's not going to happen. It's not. The only solution is for them to turn it entirely over to the Democrats. And if you say you're okay with that, then I don't know what world you're living on. And this kid didn't grow up. He's not privy to the Obama and prior world, what that was like. And I hate to keep bringing up his age, but he's acting as though he experienced that. He didn't. Like we did. I'm in my 40s. I remember that. Trump makes his... Exactly. I agree with this, Mackenzie. I agree with this. He can be swayed because he does have advisors, and advisors can give him bad data. But it's not that he's not a blithering buffoon, as they would have us believe. Let's see. I guess they're going to end up talking about the Epstein stuff. I can't stand talking about that. But
you've changed your mind, and now you call it a war.
What have I changed my mind on? Can you tell me what I changed my mind
7-week conflict, on? Andrew. 7-week conflict. That's what you said.
And how long had the conflict been going on at that time? For 7 weeks.
So when you kill the Pope, it's not a war. When you kill the Ayatollah, it's not a war. That's not an act of war to you.
No, it's not always if you kill a foreign leader in an act of war. No.
By the way, I saw you guys talking in the comments about YouTube. This has been an anomaly. Who was it? Somebody had said this a while ago, and I know it was part of your all's conversation. Yeah, your messages, they might mess with them, tweak them, whatever. This has been a problem with YouTube. In fact, as I'm gaining subscribers, it's almost an equal number of people that they're removing. And it almost acts 1-to-1, just like the numbers. So be sure to check back in every now and then. If you haven't done so, hit all the free buttons below, helps the channel. But they're stripping away subscribers at the same rate that I'm gaining them. It's really wild, really wild. But somebody had made the comment in here about YouTube being a pain. It's going to happen. Let's see. There you go. Let's keep playing.
Oh.
Wow.
It's not.
It's
not always. I don't know what to tell you. That is, in fact, the case, but
that's
this
not
has
real
graduated.
World, bro. Any other nation, they kill a leader, they're at war.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it different for us?
That's not true. That's not true. Many nations have had leaders which have been assassinated, and that's been linked to other nations, and they didn't go to war.
But it's not an assassination linked to another nation. It's a military strike. It's a bombing.
Yes, but that's not what's in dispute. What's in dispute here is whether or not at the time it appeared to be more of a conflict than it did a war.
But you don't think it's an act of war to kill the Ayatollah?
I think that you're splitting hairs.
How?
It's like, even if I was wrong, let's just say I was incorrect about it being a conflict. Let's just grant it. So what? We both agree it's a war. Both of us. So if that's the case, you
don't agree that killing the Ayatollah is an act of war, which makes it look like, well, why are the Iranians fighting us? They seem to think they're at war with us.
Bro, what part of we both agree it's a war are we not? What are you not getting here?
No, because you denied.
We don't both agree on that?
Your position at the beginning was wrong, and you knew better. You knew it was a war, and you said it wasn't one because you thought it could end quickly.
Okay, you know what? Just for the sake of getting the conversation forward, Rex, I was wrong. It wasn't a conflict. It was actually a war. What have we established? Anything?
Well, I mean, you're willing to write that off.
We've established
you're willing to write anything and everything off that Trump does, even if he takes us to war, because the Republican Party will save us.
I mean, you're just making stuff up. Except
then how do we hold them accountable?
I've been very adamant.
How do you hold them accountable for breaking with their promises?
Yeah, so you can do political punishment, especially through acts of Congress. That's the best way to do it. Get them to defund things. They can pass legislation. They can restrain him. You can go to courts. There's a million different ways to restrain the president.
Well, you're against
There's a million different ways to restrain your parties in Congress, including lobbying your own NGOs, including lobbying your own lobbyists. There's a million different ways to restrain them. Your way to restrain them is, let's vote in progressive lunatics who are going to destroy the nation. That's not how you do this, bro. That's the opposite of how you want to do this.
All right, so you've got another position, which is pretty interesting, which is the Epstein position. And there's there's Michael Tracy, Gavin McGinnis, who I had on yesterday, also kind of holds to this. I don't know if you'd put it this way. This is what Gavin said, that Epstein's just a pervert. I want to get into this with you. I want to define what your position is on Epstein. Again, not trying to put words in your mouth. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so I think I think Tracy has most of this right, that you have to separate mythology from fact. So Epstein was a hyperpredator in Florida who was preying on essentially high school girls or younger. Pedophilia, most likely, right? So yeah, he was up to all sorts of like horrific things. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And Ghislaine Maxwell also was. But the mythology aspect is the Zorro Ranch. They were eating kids. They had like child bakeries there. The mythology is the Lolita Express, that there was blackmail operations which were going on, and those blackmail operations were utilizing video in order to make sure that various political figures and things like this could be blackmailed, essentially. So that's where the mythology aspect of it comes in. So as long as people separate mythos from what we know as fact, I don't really have a problem with it. I don't even have a problem with the idea of the mythology if it's the case that people have good evidence for why it is that they believe some of the things inside of the mythology.
Okay. So I just want to ask you right off the rip, is Epstein a pedophile, and was he involved in child trafficking?
Well, undoubtedly he was involved in child trafficking. The question is was he involved in child trafficking to himself, or was he involved in child trafficking to other people? That's where the question comes in.
Crew, can we get really quick? Crew, can we get the DOJ charges for Southern District in New York, Ghislaine Maxwell, punched up on the screen really quick? Andrew, continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the other thing on the question of pedophilia, yeah, I mean, most likely. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if he, the way that I understand it, it's a mix between, you have pedophilia and then hebephilia, and then, everything after that. Pedophilia is classified as prepubescent children, and then hebephilia is classified as they're like possibly post-pubescent, but they're still underage. So I think that he falls in the hebephilia category, but it wouldn't surprise me if he fell in the pedophile category as well.
All right, so there's underage hijinks going around. We can kind of just leave it at that. So he's
1,000%.
Yeah. So he's on record, or Ghislaine's on record, because she's spending 20 years in jail for conspiring to and committing child trafficking with and for Jeffrey Epstein. Like, those are the charges. So for me,
yeah, to Jeffrey Epstein.
When I hear that somebody like Michael Tracy come out there and say, oh, well, there's no evidence of this, this is a satanic panic, basically, I look at the redactions and I say, well, if there are all these redactions for all these quote-unquote victims, who is being protected and what's being hidden in your view?
Well, a lot of the redactions are coming out of victim advocacy groups, various lawsuits that are happening, and those are done through the court, which is separate actually from what Trump's powers are for redactions and even congressional power. A lot of that comes out of the courts. Tracy has some pretty good segments on this, on how the victims advocacy groups push for these redactions through courtrooms. And I kind of understand why, because if you take what happened, for instance, with Ro Khanna, when Ro Khanna doxed those various people who were on the list, and then it turns out that they weren't even involved in any pedophilia at all. It's like there's a reason why there's a lot of those redactions which are there. We have the Epstein Transparency Act, and they've been going back and forth on this based around the idea of the video and the redactions. So I would love to see it all. And this is Tracy's position too, which is interesting. He would prefer to see it all redacted and released, and so would I. I just understand why it isn't.
And that's because the courts did it, in your view?
Most of it, yes. Most of the redactions come from courts, from victim advocacy groups, and from various lawsuits, and from people who want to protect their identity, who might be named in the Epstein files, but they themselves did nothing wrong.
Okay, so we kind of made, or you made, the pedophilia, I believe hebephilia or whatever it's called, distinction earlier before. Pam Bondi
one's prepubescent, one's postpubescent.
All right, so I think to most people that really doesn't matter. Like, if it's under 18, it's a crime, and then someone that's that old shouldn't.
I agree, it's a crime.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
When you look at Epstein and you look at the redactions, it's not just the redactions; it's the 3 million unreleased files. What do you say about that?
Yeah, so most of that, as this again, this is the research that I've read, and I've looked at both ends of it. So, Pam Bondi said that most of the redactions on video, for instance, came from the fact that this was mostly Epstein's porn, and that had been investigated. And it's true that they did age play pornography, but
I'm going to get so banned off of YouTube for this. Maybe I'll do this one in the members only, the rest of this. But you guys get the idea. There's, yeah, I'm really trying to, it's on X. So that's the actual free speech platform, as you guys have already said. I hate to end it there, but the more that language they use, the more I'm just like, all right, they're going to completely trash me for it. I've seen you guys, exactly. Words matter, Rex. Oh my gosh. Bronson, if you want to come on and talk about this, I would be happy to send you a guest link and I can pop you on. Because I know you follow Andrew Wilson pretty heavily. Let's see. Does this one issue voter just fixate on this because he's afraid he might be drafted? Is it coward? That's an interesting thought. That's a very interesting thought. He is a one issue voter though. You're 100% right. A one issue voter. And it's easy for people to fall into it if you don't follow politics a lot. And if your algorithm, as just a simple experiment, I've done this. I'll click on something that I'm not interested in, and I will and this happens in X, and X's algorithm is faster than the YouTube algorithm by a long shot. I can click on one thing, and it's something I'm not interested in. I'll actually seek it out, find that one thing, and I will engage with one post. And I go back to my home screen, and my home screen is filled with nothing but that. It is absolutely amazing how that algorithm gives you tunnel vision. It's really crazy, but that's also how people like, okay, you're at work. I got it. It's also how people like Candace get so much traction, and Stu Peters, and how they build these little cults on their social media accounts. But I'm going to bring up a topic here. This is, well, before I bring up the Spain situation, this is a reminder. This is what Rex should know. This is what he should know is going to happen, because it happened before. It's what they want. It's how they win elections. This is not Spain. This is the U.S. border. You guys remember this video? People coming in by the thousands, by the tens of thousands, by the hundreds of thousands, by the millions. And a one-issue voter says, I'm okay with all this, because it wasn't really about Donald Trump. It's like having petulant children that are, they say, I want a puppy, I want a dog, I want a pony, and or I want a puppy, I want a pony, I want a four-wheeler, I want, a new BB gun, I want this, I want that. And you say, well, I got you a pony. Oh, I hate you. I hate you. I wanted all of these things. And it's just not how politics works. Actually, that's a bad example, because that's multiple things. But you get the point I'm trying to make. These kids, these young people, maybe they're okay with Democrats for a while because they lean more liberal. They actually lean more liberal. But we're seeing what's happening in Spain. And this is what will come to the United States, back to the United States. This is absolute madness. They're bringing them in, boats, dropping them off, people swimming across the ocean. There was one guy with a selfie stick. I don't know if I grabbed that video or not. But there were 60,000 people in 24 hours that came into Spain. The place is absolutely overrun. I'm not okay voting for that. Under any circumstances, it's a long way for Donald Trump to piss me off enough to vote for this. And to say that they aren't going to pack the courts, that's nonsense. They will. If they get the legislature, if they get full power, they have the legislature and they have the presidency, they will try to pack the courts. If they get the presidency and they get the legislature, they are going to try to fundamentally transform this country, just like Obama said he was going to do. And he made some serious headway. You know, there's nothing so permanent as a temporary government program. Once something is put in place, it does not stop. Oh, wow. McKinsey's close to the border. Have I seen Matt Tardio's post about it? No, I haven't. Let me see if I can find it. It was either him or Green Beret Nap Time. Let me see if I can find it. I'll certainly look it up. Why not? Matt Tardio. He does great content. Let's see. Well, if I could type properly. Matt Tardio. Was it him? Adri, was it Matt Tardio talking about the southern border? Is that what it was? Let's see. Yeah, that's the other one. Exactly. Packing the courts, Puerto Rico and D.C. become states. All right, let me see if I can find it. What was the lie? There's 20. There's no reason to lie. That was Candace. He retweeted James Lindsay. That was funny. Oh, you tagged me. Okay, Adri tagged me. All right. Ah, here we go. Let's play this one. Boop, boop.
I'm sure you've seen this by now, you newsy baddies. So I guess I'll explain why Spain looks like a horror film. So some 60,000 young, healthy Muslim men are coming from North Africa and climbing into Ceuta, which was a region inherited by Spain that only has a population of some 80,000. And the police are just letting them in and double the population because of two reasons. Number one, in April, the socialist prime minister, Pedro Sanchez, approved a bill that gave 500,000 migrants legal status, mass amnesty, in the pursuit of kindness. And because nobody in Spain is having kids, the fertility rate is like 1.2. So they just decided to import people who will have kids. And because the socialist leader's government is ransacked with corruption. So this serves as a great distraction. And number two, because Spain's Supreme Court in July ruled that if you come to the southern border by sea, well, then you're good to come on in. The police can't kick you out if you swim there. So these genius men swam and boated to Spain, and now they're bombarding the courts looking for amnesty and legal status. The problem is that Ceuta only has 2 administrative courts. They handle like 500 cases a year, so they're getting pretty jammed up. And in the past 24 hours, while they've all been waiting for amnesty, for some reason, they're not following the laws or the customs of Ceuta. Instead, they're breaking into homes and pooping on the streets and yelling Allahu Akbar. Ceuta screwed. The Spaniards are super mad, and their government won't even call it a national emergency. And Italy's having none of it. Their boss, Queen Giorgia Meloni, she is cutting off Spain from entering Italy freely. They had a little agreement through the EU. She's like, no more. Now, part of the reason these guys are so eager to enter Spain is because it's Dar al-Islam. meaning they believe it's their territory. Because way back when, in the 700s, these leaders did a little conquest of the Middle East and North Africa and Europe. And when I say little, I mean it was massive and huge. But eventually they were exiled from Spain. Problem is, the followers of the faith want it back. And they're seemingly succeeding in that pursuit. Since 2007 alone, the Muslim population in Spain has increased by 1.5 million. And that's interesting because, again, the native Spaniards, they aren't having babies. So they're basically being swapped out and the government's helping speed things up. And by the way, if you guys want to read more about this whole thing, Ayaan Hirsi Ali has written extensively about this. She's a genius and she's lived it. And she warned that this was going to happen to Spain. She was right. And she also warns that it could happen here. Just remember, y'all, strong borders, good. Borders like we had under Biden, non-existent, bad. And guess what? You'll see a lot of that again if AOC or Kamala Harris is elected. Mark my words.
Aha! Bingo, bango. She did a good job. Yeah, it was 700, and then during the Crusades, it was taken back, I believe. It was 800 years, roughly 800 years, that Islam controlled it. Crazy. Yeah, she mentioned them yelling. People will say, "No, it's not. That's they're not yelling that." Here you go. Here's the video of it. I actually pulled this one. Let's pull this up here. Play it loud so you can hear it. Nobody hears that and feels comfortable. Nobody hears that Allahu Akbar and feels safe and secure. Let's just be perfectly honest with ourselves. I had a couple others I was going to play. I guess I did not know that there was UK media that talked like this. Here's a lady who, she's talking about it in the UK, and they're covering Spain. But let's play this one.
They're enabling it in real time. And I don't know how this stuff is reversed. I'm 42, and I know that that's it. That my country, my continent, my civilization, my freedoms, my way of life, my safety, my ability to walk around the streets where I grew up freely, I know it's over. I know it's over because of what's going on and what's happening. And we're watching it in real time, and this is war, and this is being conducted by hostile states, and I cannot wrap my head around how we have a government, and frankly, successive governments, not just in the United Kingdom, but across the West, of the left wing particularly, who, for some reason that I just cannot fathom, at the very least, are turning a blind eye to this. At worst, they're actually complicit. I don't know. What is going on?
As you can see there, Alex, all of these are young males. And you're absolutely right. Do you remember the day a couple of years ago when Yvette Cooper said, oh, no, she would take in some illegals? Well, I don't quite remember her taking in any. And this is a real disaster for the whole of Europe. Do you know the one thing that many Remainers mistake about people like you and I? They think that we don't like like Europe. Well, we do like Europe.
I love Europe.
We love European
I want
countries.
Europe to remain.
That's right, absolutely. What we don't like is the European Union. And thank goodness the British people had the common sense in 2016 to vote to leave the European Union. Of course, the political masters did everything they possibly could to have kept us in one way, shape, form or another. But Andy Burnham does need to make it absolutely clear that we will not take in a single person of the 49,000 that are entering this Spanish enclave.
We should take nobody of anywhere, not of this 49,000, but anywhere. We need to declare a national emergency. We've learned that IRGC have shipped operatives in. We know this. The counter-terrorism czar, Robin Simcox, told the previous government, Rishi Sunak, that guess what? Guess what? Terrorists use illegal routes. Well, of course they blimmin' well do. Of course.
And we know this happened in the U.S. We know that they came across our border. Sarah Adams talks about this. She's talked about this ad nauseum, that the risk for a future attack is there. And who's the guy, the CIA, the other dude, the one that used to have the frizzy hair. Can't remember his name. They did a conversation on PBD, and he doesn't believe any of it. He doesn't believe that there's going to be a lot of people say that he's a Fed, but anybody who used to work for the Feds and left is automatically going to be assumed to be a Fed or not have America's best interest or whatever. They're going to be, their loyalties lie with the intel community as opposed to America. I don't know. All I know is the things that Sarah Adams has talked about, the tens of thousands that came across that are radicals for Islamic extremism. They are a threat. They pose a massive threat. And this is like, there's a lot of people who are insulated. I would say people that live in certain neighborhoods, people that are of a certain means that say, well, yeah, we should be nice. It's the suicidal empathy that they suffer. And multiculturalism is great. And we've got so much here in America. We should let them in. And Spain has so much. And, it's terrible in Bangladesh, or it's terrible in Somalia, or it's terrible in whatever. Just let them all in. Let them all in. They imagine these people with little bonnets on, coming with their, and instead what they get are military age males who beat people up, who stab them in the streets, who destroy property, who steal, who are not assimilated to the society, to a civilized society, to a developed society. And they have no buy-in. They just have expectations. And these people with the citizenry with suicidal empathy are usually separated from it. The politicians are doing it because it helps them get elected, and because it creates a problem that they themselves then need to fix, which is an opportunity for them to insert power or to exert power on the populace. And it happens over there in these other countries more easily than it happens here, because there is no Second Amendment in any of these other countries. Thankfully, we still have that. But it is intentional. This only happens intentionally. And in Morocco, where a lot of these people were coming from, in fact, I've got let me see if I've got the video here. There were police officers helping them. I think this is the one. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah, here you go. The cops are right here. They're directing people. Here you go. Everybody out. Everybody out. Yeah, multiculturalism doesn't work. That's not to say, and people misconstrue that, and they say that allowing any immigrants is, immigration in general. They treat that as multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is saying that you can come here and you can just keep your own corner of whatever city, state. You don't have to be American. You be a Bangladeshi in, East Idaho, or you be a Somalian in Minnesota. That's not what this is. The immigration that takes a long time, that is a difficult process. I've moved on the polar. I used to say we could probably streamline or, make our immigration system more efficient. I think it needs to be less efficient. I think it needs to take longer for people to come to America. I think you should have to spend years upon years, which you already do. The people that do it the right way, they'll spend 5-10 years to come into this country, and they work hard and they earn money and they continue with the filings and they go through the background checks. And if your background can't be cleared, you don't get in. You're not guaranteed a spot in this country. You're just not. So if there is no background for you, we don't know what radical groups you're tied to, you will never become an American citizen. Ever. Ever. This needs to go on absolute lockdown. And I'm almost to the point that I think immigration needs to stop for about 5 to 10 years. Like nobody else comes in. None. Stop it all. That's how bad it's gotten. We have literally tens of millions of people that we have to sift through. Millions of them are able to vote. They've only found 250,000, something like that. The latest official numbers, we know those numbers are higher. Yeah, two goats. I think I had this up a minute ago. But progressive globalists have your best interests at heart, guys. Yeah, right. My backside. There we go. We have consensus in the chat. Exactly, our house. It is an invasion. It is. And, you know, there's people that made, people that I've listened to, obviously they were before my time, sort of. But people used to talk about, you know, immigration being an acceptable thing if you're a little more libertarian and you think that, okay, you know, seasonal workers and all this can come in and work. I'm absolutely opposed to that these days. Do I think there's exceptions, you know, through some visa programs? Yeah, there could be for certain specialty services or abilities or whatever. But by and large, we can find that here in the U.S. There's very few things that are generated outside the United States that we can't find an American citizen to do. And so that argument's kind of it's fallen on deaf ears at the moment with me. But when you take those more libertarian arguments and then you apply a social safety net that you then give non-citizens access to, that's the biggest problem, because we're opening the floodgates. These nonprofits, these NGOs that were trafficking people across the border, well-meaning people, actually, not the people coming across, but the people trying to help them. They were well-meaning people, even though they're doing a huge disservice to America. But they were getting hundreds of millions of dollars. I did whole shows on this. These people getting hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars just to position these people at various locations around the country. And it is not a net positive. It is not a net positive under any circumstances. It's a net negative for the country. And these people, they don't speak English. They don't assimilate to the culture. Why would they? There is no reason for them to assimilate. They get free food, they get free, you know, they get housing, they get money thrown into their accounts. And some conservatives are, I guess, in order to get elected, this is where Mike Lindell stands. This is why Ben Dykes, the guy that we were talking about at the start of the show, this is why he has pulled his, you know, brand deal from MyPillow. This is why he has gone on an absolute tirade against what just happened to my screen. There it went.
So what I was proposing was, you know what? Take these people, go give them to the courthouse, get them, fingerprint them, give them 6 months to do that. And then at the end of the 6 months, these employers could never employ illegals that didn't have that card, which they already have. It was trying to solve a problem here in Minnesota. It wasn't an amnesty, but I will tell you this. Now that this is all blown up, I realized I couldn't do that anyway, to have them come in and get fingerprinted in 6 months, because then I would be doing the same thing as our current government's doing with Waltz and them, protecting illegals and giving them these cards to vote in our elections and drive on our streets.
But that is what he's saying to do. His recommendation was, let's make them less illegal so that the companies are no longer guilty of hiring illegals. Say what now? Run that one by me again there. All I was saying was we fingerprint them so that these companies and give them a card so that these companies are no longer hiring illegals. Well, that's a protection for the company. It's a protection for the illegal immigrants. It's not a protection for the American people. The correct answer, the conservative answer, is to deport them. To say, or run a sting. There was a sheriff's department. Somebody had posted the video ages ago. It was I think it was a sheriff's department or a police department, and they ran a fake sweepstakes winning thing. Like, you won a cruise, and they had all these. They called up all the people with outstanding warrants, and they told them, you won a cruise. Show up at this hotel at this time. And they had a whole reception table set up. They had, oh yes, please go ahead, sign in. Let me see your ID. Go through the door and you'll be greeted by by a concierge who's going to take you to get your prize. And they walked in, and one by one, they arrested them. And they said, hey, you know, Bill Jones, we've got a warrant for your arrest. come with me. And they started hauling these people off. I think it was back in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe. It might not have been that long ago. You guys might remember. Let's just run that and have a bus that just goes to a camp. Illegals go here and you can get, whatever, $1,500. I missed the mustard conversation. I'm looking down in the chat. I missed the mustard conversation. I'm seeing this is such a great conversation. Well, I just saw the comment. Who was it that posted it? And I didn't know if you were talking about ours or about, you said this is such a great discussion. Are we talking about the mustard, which I guess I'm missing in the chat? There's a lot of mustard conversation. I don't know where that came up. That's funny. Yeah. But that's honestly, that is how you do it. If you find people who oppose big issues, you can talk about it. But let's talk about a hypothetical here. If Mike Lindell, that's a bad political move once he gets into office. If he does this is a purely hypothetical. He does a massive number of, or he says that now all of our state police, everybody is going to be supporting ICE. We're going to help with deportations, but we also have this other thing that goes on. That's a similar difficult situation to what we were talking about earlier with, we've got a Republican in, he's working with ICE, we're deporting thousands of people, but he also put in this caveat where people can get this ID or certain people that work for certain factories can get this particular ID and they're not going to be deported. That's something that you call out, but do you take that over the Democrats who have just opened it up entirely and say, no, we're not going to do anything? In fact, you're not allowed to work with ICE. There can be no deportations as they do in California, as they do in other blue states. I'm not defending Mike Lindell. I'm just saying that these are hypothetical situations for people that are trying to get elected that have to give up middle ground. What we need to be worried about is where is that middle ground? What's the territory that they are willing to give up? Where are they caving in order to try to grab the moderates to get elected? Where's the net positive for the state of Minnesota? This is the nature of politics in 2026. It is difficult. Let's see. This mustard conversation in the chat has gotten out of control. Oh my goodness, that's funny. That's very funny. Let's see. Oh, well, nope. Actually, that's come to the end of everything that I had to talk about today. I was going to play, actually, before we got started, I was going to play this one. We did the video on Fauci. This is a complete change of subject, but it's okay. This is a very funny clip. AI is getting so good. Do you guys remember the Dave Chappelle skit from back in the day?
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything you say, 5. Go ahead, ask me a question. Did you?
Oh, that was a complete change. I was scrolling back through my notes and I found that one. I was like, man, AI is getting, AI's, you can make some amazing stuff. I need to get better with AI videos, use more of them to make some funny stuff. Oh gosh. Yeah, Minnesota is. Look, some of these places are lost. The UK's lost. You know, a lot of these countries over in Europe lost, and they're going to be taken over. It's only a matter of time because of the falling birth rates. We've told people to not have families. We've told people to not have kids. And the way that you maintain your society is you bring in new groups that are, and the groups that are and are very willing to travel because they are of an ideology of conquest is they come from these Muslim countries. So I'm standing on my prediction that the first developed Muslim country with nuclear weapons is going to be either France or the UK. There you go. That's my take. Okay, so this is okay. Megan's letting me in on the. Okay, this is how you let me in on the conversation. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. I know that, but it's still funny. It is still the video meme is still funny. Pleading the fifth. Oh. You know, you made this comment and it took my brain in a certain direction where I was thinking about it this morning. I can't remember the stream of consciousness I was having about this. Well, I think I was thinking about Katie Faust. Bear with me here. Katie Faust she's a woman who is very involved in, the pro-life movement, and, she's opposed to surrogacy and a lot of the other things that have come about become popularized in like the past decade. And it made me think about how technology is like the pros and cons of technology and medical developments and science and this morning, full transparency, I was listening to James Tour. If you've never heard James Tour, the guy is absolutely brilliant. And he's a brilliant scientist. The guy reconnected the spinal cord of a rat using graphene. They paralyzed in a lab. They paralyzed a rat by clipping the spinal cord, and using his invention, which involved graphene and other things, they got it to walk again. Unbelievable stuff this guy's done. And he's widely regarded as one of the greatest minds in the country. He's also a very, very devout Christian. But I was listening to him, and then I started thinking about a recent interview that I heard with Katie Faust, and Katie Faust is in the pro-life world. And so it got me thinking about all of the amazing benefits that science has given us, that technology has given us, but how that is ultimately, we've taken it to such an extreme that it's had a negative impact. I don't know about the morning after pill ingredients and stuff, but I do think about the chemicals in the food. And I think about the fertilizers and the pesticides and all this stuff, all this technology that we've got. And it's helped us grow more, be more efficient in farming, less waste, so on and so forth. But it's also had these side effects of poisoning us and causing fertility issues and chronic disease and illness. And then the response to it is to keep using that same science. And with that same science, we start doing unethical things in order to fix the problems that science created in the first place. It's really wild because Katie Faust is very much opposed to IVF. And she talks about the ethical concerns with IVF. And so anyway, while there's not the more, I don't know about that one. I haven't heard that one, but it is true that we are poisoned, that there's preservatives and things to keep food shelf stable longer. That leads to obesity and chronic disease and inflammation in our bodies, which leads to fertility problems and other things, which is then corrected by unethical science. And it's kind of mind numbing where we are as a society. in this society of excess. It's really wild. Yeah, in makeup, in shampoos, and I mean just about everything has chemicals that we should not be putting on or in our bodies, and it's having long-term impacts on us. And I believe that's one of the things that is, well, and not to mention, the things that we spread into the air. Cloud seeding is a thing, and these heavy levels of metals and things that they're spreading into the atmosphere to try and generate rain and all is wild. Yeah. I mean, I was behind greatest going referring to Andrew Wilson debate. Oh, okay. You were behind. All right. That's all good. That's all good. Janice, glad you're here. It's good to have you here. I think this says it all right here. We have there's a lot of hubris, a lot of ego, and we think that we can fix anything and everything. It doesn't mean we stop trying. If James Tour's invention is ever able to be mainstreamed and somebody is in a car accident and it is able to be used to reattach someone's like the connections of someone's spinal cord to make them walk again, think about what that's like, an end to paralysis, and I've heard him talk about it in other places, not to get too off topic, but there's a short window of time. And this is why it hasn't been applied to humans, because the window of time is very short. And typically if there is a spinal cord injury, then the healing is done by the human body. So that's the preferred way for it to happen. And if there was the potential for the body to heal itself, and you have done something that prevents it, like if it doesn't take on that person, then by, just logically speaking, you have then denied that person the ability to walk. But if you wait until it heals, and once it hits that threshold, it's then too late to use his invention. So nonetheless, he's shown that it's a proof of concept, and maybe that'll get improved somehow over time, and they'll figure out other things. But yeah, we have a lot of, there's people out here, communists, socialists, as an example. Let's take this back to politics. They think that there's a utopian world that can't exist, and that all the little Stanford graduates or the ones that went to NYU who come out with blue hair and septum piercings and say that they're going to fix the world, and that the best course of action is to implement communism and socialism everywhere. That's a level of hubris that's it's destructive. We know that. And we've seen that 100 million lives have been lost because of it. So that might have gone a little over on the comment there. Janice, yes, a Berkey. If you can get a hold of a Berkey water filter, 100%, they take out everything. We use my wife got one, and I thought, well, you're kidding me. This thing that looks like a coffee, what they call it, a carafe or whatever, like this, the filter is this good, and it is. And in fact, there was a filter, one particular filter that they made that filtered out, I forget what it was. I think it was viruses and other things. They actually took it off the market, and they said you can't buy it in the United States anymore. Well, we bought enough for, I think, 20 years, enough filters, because the filters last a long time. But yeah, Berkeys are fantastic. Okay. Important to keep things in perspective, that we are not God and ultimately everything is in his hands. Yes. The point I was going to make before, I'm so glad you said this. Thank you for hanging with me here, our house. Thank you for hanging with me on this. But yeah, when we start playing God, the transgender issue is one instance. IVF is another instance. If it's not done ethically, there's ethical ways to do it. Then in fact, that was the conversation James Tour was having that I was listening to today, was about the scientists who had claimed that they had split cells or caused a cell to multiply inside of a lab. And this is ultimately where they're trying to go. This has never happened in a lab. They don't have the technology, the ability to take a single cell, turn it into a two-celled organism, or a 4-cell or a 8-cell or a 16-cell. They don't have the ability to do that, but they are trying to. They recently, some scientists came out and said that they had. James Tour was saying, no, they actually didn't. We can't. We are incapable of creating life. But the closer we get to trying to create life, manipulate life, decide what gets to live or die, this is the ethical problem with abortion and medical assistance in dying, all of these things. This is us playing God. Your life ends when the Lord says it is time for your life to end, when your time has come. We say, no, it should be a matter of choice. This is why it's dangerous that we're taking God out of anything and everything. When they start pulling it off the sides of the buildings and they start taking down the statues, or, like they do in Qatar, hiding the crosses, you get some serious, very serious moral, you have a very serious moral dilemma in your country. And we definitely have one here in the U.S. You shouldn't. Not that you shouldn't try to avoid it. You should. But if you got Christ in your heart, you got nothing to worry about. You've accepted Christ. That's it. CRISPR is an example. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But so many manipulations. Yeah, 100%. I do some work with some people in the, I'm a videographer, photographer. That's what I do. I wouldn't consider myself a filmmaker. That's what people say. But I shoot video, I shoot photos, that sort of thing. And I've worked with some people in some nonprofits where, medicine is a thing. And I've had the privilege of hearing some of the things going on in the medical world. And it's very interesting. There's a lot of people out there who recognize the ethical problems in the medical world today, and they are addressing it. They are advocating for medical ethics, bioethics, because technology is moving fast, and AI is going to make it move even faster. It's just going to get faster. And, the problems that would take a whole team of doctors or scientists or whatever to figure out can be done in minutes or hours by an AI model. And then it can be tested by those people in a lab. It's gonna get fast. And we look at the things like AI, Neuralink. That I still say that just human existence is going to start changing once you start having the useless class of people, as the World Economic Forum talks about. They said we got a useless class of people. What are we going to do with them? Well, it's going to be drugs. It's going to be games, entertainment. It's going to be a virtual reality world. This is theoretical or hypothetical, or well, I guess theoretical. But you got a whole group of people that AI does their job. We don't need them to do that job. They could learn another job, or AI is going to take over so many jobs. We're going to have a massive number of unemployable people because all the jobs for people, actual people, are filled. What do we do with them? They become the pod people. They get to make their own virtual reality world. They'll get dopamine hits. It'll be all wired in through things like Neuralink and, and whatever. And you get to live this existence of just food and pleasure and entertainment in a world that you create. That's the scary part that, Anyway, okay, guys. Let me see if I've got any other that I missed. 8 minutes behind. Whoa, Sabs. Your dad was a crop duster in the 70s and 80s. Ugh, bless his heart. Aha, there you go. Jurassic Park. There's a great quote. You scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. And when this stuff becomes, any remote connection to defense, it's going to be, well, somebody's going to do it first. It might as well be us. It's going to happen anyway. It might as well be us. Even though they say we probably shouldn't do this. And look, that's how we got COVID, right? They assumed, Anthony Fauci assumed that this disease would become airborne. And he said, well, it's going to happen. They don't know that, but they assumed that it would. So it's better for us to make all of these diseases transmissible through the air and, through other means so that we can stop it when it does, that we can have a vaccine or whatever when it actually happens, assuming that it happens, but they take the steps to make sure that it happens. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. There you go. Guys, thank you all so much. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed the chat. I missed a lot of the mustard talk. But if you're new to this channel and you're still hanging in here, please feel free. If my thing wants to pop up, I don't know that it ever, let's see, there it goes. Hit all the free buttons below. Helps us in the algorithm, helps this channel grow. You can also become a member for a few bucks a month. We have that option. I've also got some merch, although I brought my Socialism Sucks mug. So I've got that one on standby, but we've got this one. We've got the We the People mug. We've got some with some pew-pews on them, if you like that sort of thing. But you should be able to see all that in my, either below the video or it's going to be in my account. I'm appreciative of all the members. So I've Tanya, Adri, who are some of the other members that we had today? I think Two Goats was in here. I saw Two Goats. We had several members in here today. Sorry, the chat is very full and it's hard for me to find them after the show gets started. Lynn was in here too. Good to see you, Lynn. I appreciate everybody that supports this channel one way or another. Oh, and Juju B is in here as well. Yep. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up all the members that I can. But anyway, guys, God bless you. God bless America. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Saturday. Enjoy some time with family, friends, or just some time chilling out by yourself. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.